Ladies and gentlemen, there is no greater tragedy in life than to live without discovering why you were born. Purpose is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Until you understand purpose, life becomes an experiment. You try jobs, relationships, places, and things, but none of them satisfy the deep yearning of your soul. Why? Because satisfaction is not found in success. It's found in purpose. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out. You were not created to be busy. You were created to be effective. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. Purpose is not something you create. It is something you discover because it was placed inside you before you were even formed. Purpose precedes creation. No manufacturer creates a product and then decides what it's for. First comes the idea, the need, the intention. Then comes the product. Likewise, God didn't make you and then go looking for something for you to do. He had something to be done, so He made you. And until you understand that, you'll keep hustling, striving, comparing, competing, and still feel empty. You were never designed to chase money. You were designed to fulfill a mission. Don't measure your value by what you have. Measure it by what you were sent to solve. Your purpose is the answer to someone's problem. Your gift is the evidence that there's a demand for your life, and your life will never make sense until you submit to the one who gave it to you. So today, I challenge you. Stop running from yourself. Stop hiding behind what's popular and what's easy. Go back to the source. Ask your creator, why am I here? Because until purpose is known, life is misused. And when you find your purpose, you'll stop trying to impress people and start trying to impact them. You'll stop living to survive and start living to serve. That's when true peace comes. That's when fulfillment begins. That's when you start living. Purpose is not a suggestion. It is not a wish. It is not an afterthought. It is the very reason a thing exists. It is the intention in the mind of the creator before the product is ever revealed. It is the cause behind your creation, the motivation behind your formation, the invisible why behind the visible who. And until you understand that you were formed with purpose before you were even formed in your mother's womb, you will continue to think you are here to make a living instead of fulfilling a calling, because when the Creator thinks, He does not think randomly, men. He does not create without cause. He does not produce anything unless there is a demand for it, which means your existence is evidence that a need preceded you, a problem predestined you, and a purpose prepared you. And when you were released into time, it was not because heaven was bored. It was because earth had a vacancy only your purpose could fill. And when you try to define yourself outside of the Creator's original intent, you begin to malfunction. You begin to drift. You begin to measure your worth by applause, by trends, by comparison, and by the opinions of broken people who don't even know why they exist. And that's why so many people live successful lives but die as failures, because success is not purpose fulfilled. It is performance applauded. And there is a difference, see? Purpose gives meaning to your existence. It is the blueprint behind your body, the reason for your resources, the assignment behind your abilities, and everything you are is connected to everything you intended, which is why your gift cannot be separated from your reason for breathing. Your talent is not a coincidence. It is a clue. And your uniqueness is not random. It is strategic. And if you don't return to the mind of the maker, if you don't ask the source why you were sourced, if you don't pursue the why behind your what, then you will settle for titles over function, popularity over productivity, and comfort over calling. Because where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. And when something is not used for what it was created to do, it will either be broken, or break others. That's why you must stop asking people why you're here. Stop looking in culture for your calling. Stop waiting on people to validate what heaven already confirmed, because no one has the right to define what they didn't design. And if you want to know the purpose of a thing, you don't ask the thing. You ask the one who made it. And He is not hiding the answer. He is waiting on your question. And when you finally surrender to that eternal question, when you finally stop running and ask, oh, why was I born? That's when the search ends and life begins. That's when the fog lifts and vision awakens. That's when depression breaks and direction comes. Because when purpose is discovered, energy is restored, motivation is resurrected, and existence begins to make sense again, because your life is not an accident. Your design is not a mistake. Your presence is not a coincidence. Your birth is not random. Your difference is not a defect. Your gifts are not irrelevant. Your voice is not useless. Your time is not wasted. Your dreams are not dead. Your future is not forgotten. Your journey is not meaningless. Your purpose is the original intent of the Creator, and it's time to go back to Him so you can move forward in it where purpose is unknown. Abuse is inevitable because anything that is not understood will be misused, misdirected, mishandled and mistaken for something it was never created to be. And when you don't know the why behind a thing, you will invent your own reasons. You will create your own definitions. You will substitute truth with assumption and function with dysfunction. And before long, what was meant to be a blessing becomes a burden simply because you never stopped to ask, what was this made for? And this is why people abuse themselves, their gifts, their relationships, their influence, their time, their potential, and even their bodies, not because they are evil, but because they are ignorant. Because when you live without purpose, you live without boundaries. And when you live without boundaries, you invite chaos, you attract confusion, and you normalize damage, not knowing that the pain you feel isn't punishment. It's the consequence of misapplication, you see. A thing was never designed to define itself. It was created to function within the parameters of its purpose. But when you remove something from the reason it was made, you force it to become something it was never designed to handle. And that pressure breaks it, twists it, drains it, and eventually destroys it, not because it wasn't valuable, but because it was placed in the wrong context. And this is why marriages fall apart, friendships die, visions are delayed, and talents rot. Because we keep misusing what we refuse to understand. We keep demanding from people what only God can give. We keep expecting from titles what only purpose can fulfill. And we keep wondering why everything looks successful on the outside, but feels so broken on the inside. It's because what you don't understand, you will eventually misuse. And what you misuse, you will eventually lose, because if you don't know the value of time, you'll waste it. If you don't know the purpose of your voice, you'll silence it or sell it. If you don't know the reason for your pain, you'll drown in it. If you don't understand the power of your gift, you'll bury it. And if you don't discover the reason you were born, you will settle for survival when you were created for significance. And the tragedy is not that people die. The tragedy is that people die full of dreams they never lived, full of books they never wrote, full of books they never wrote, full of ideas they never pursued, full of songs they never sang, full of solutions they never released. And the root of that tragedy is not laziness or lack of ambition. It's the absence of purpose. Because without purpose, life becomes a cycle of activity with no clarity, motion with no direction, noise with no meaning. And the enemy of your soul isn't just after your behavior. He's after your understanding, because if he can keep you ignorant of your purpose, he doesn't need to chain you. He just needs to confuse you, because a confused person will imprison themselves. A person without purpose will sabotage themselves, and a life without direction will accept anything that looks like progress, even when it's just distraction. So until you stop and ask the question, why was I given this? Why do I feel this? Why do I feel this? Why do I carry this? Why am I drawn to this? And why do I keep surviving what should have killed me? You will continue to function beneath your potential, live beneath your design, and settle beneath your destiny, not because God didn't make you great, but because you never discovered the purpose behind your power. And where purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. You are not a mistake. You are a solution, because the Creator never breathes without intention, never forms without reason, never releases without assignment. And your very presence on this planet is proof that a problem exists which demands your existence, a gap that requires your presence, a need that cries out for your gift, because you were not born just to breathe. You were born to build, to fix, to answer, to restore, to unlock, and to reveal something that heaven already finished, but earth still needs to receive. You see, mistakes are unplanned. They're accidental. They're regrettable, but you were crafted, you were measured, you were calculated, you were designed, and every detail about you was woven together with intentionality. Your voice, your vision, your pain, your personality, even the parts you've tried to hide or wished you could erase are part of the solution code within you. And when you start to realize that nothing about you is wasted, that nothing you've been through is random, that no part of your story is unnecessary, that's when you begin to walk in the confidence of purpose instead of the confusion of comparison, because you were not placed here to take up space, to blend in, to wish for someone else's life, or to wonder if you matter. You were sent, deployed, and embedded into time with precision and purpose. And the fact that you woke up today means that your assignment is still active. Your gift is still needed, your value is still relevant, and your voice still carries answers to questions that haven't even been asked yet. Because when God sends a solution, he hides it in a vessel. And when he hides it, he protects it until the world is ready to receive it. And that vessel, that solution, that answer, is you. So stop shrinking, stop apologizing for existing, stop questioning your worth based on rejection, stop allowing fear to mute your voice, stop allowing doubt to hijack your vision. Stop letting the opinions of the ignorant keep you from obeying the instructions of the omniscient, because people didn't design you, so they can't define you. They didn't design you, so they can't dismiss you. And they didn't call you, so they cannot cancel you, because when God authored your purpose, he didn't request public opinion. He wrote it in eternity and then released you in time. And I know life has tried to convince you that you're too broken, too flawed, too late, too unqualified, too damaged, too silent, too different. But what the enemy calls a weakness, God calls a weapon. And what the world calls strange, God calls specific. And what people overlook, God anoints, because he doesn't choose the most polished. He chooses the most purposed. And you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be aligned, available, and aware that you were made for more. You are not the result of statistics. You are not the echo of your family's failures. You are not a byproduct of pain. You are divine interruption, a generational answer, a kingdom representative. And every breath you take is evidence that there's still something inside you that hell is terrified of. Because when a solution wakes up to who it is, confusion has to end, delay has to break, fear has to, and the earth begins to heal in the place where you finally said yes. And you don't need permission to be who you are. You just need revelation. Because the moment you understand that your life is not random but redemptive, not aimless but assigned, not accidental but intentional, you will stop surviving and start solving. You will stop asking for acceptance and start activating your calling. You will stop explaining your value and start expressing your vision. And that's when the world begins to shift. Not because it finally gave you a seat, but because you realized you are the table. So rise up from the lie that you are less than, shake off the dust of doubt, silence the whispers of worthlessness, and step boldly into the truth that you were sent here on purpose, for purpose, with purpose, and as purpose, because you are not a mistake, you are a solution. And the moment you believe it is the moment, everything around you begins to change.